The next topic I would consider is the amendment topic. They will specify the amendment topic, but not spell it out in detail. They might give some of the specifics, but it hasn't fully been written. An example of this is the Balanced Budget Amendment Task Force, where they have specified that the sole purpose of the convention is to propose a balanced budget amendment. They give some of the details of what it should contain, but they haven't actually written the amendment yet. Again, I feel this may be overstepping the bounds. It's supposed to be the convention that's proposing the amendments, not the states. But as they start doing so, some of the specifications they give might cause some significant problems. For example, with this particular amendment application, the exact wording says that in the absence of a national emergency, Congress must balance the budget. That's what they want in the amendment. Then unless there's a national emergency, Congress must always balance the budget. And of course, that would make Congress balance the budget when? When was the last time we had a national emergency? The answer is today. And every day since 1979. We've been under a constant state of national emergency since 1979. In fact, here we have a USA Today article talking about that. America's perpetual state of emergency, declaring that today we actually have 30 simultaneous national emergency declarations on the books. Now, the Balanced Budget Amendment in particular has some interesting history. Back in 1983, we almost had enough states applying for a convention for this purpose. It takes 34 states applying for the convention. We got up to 32. We were 2 states away from having this convention. And those promoting it say, if only we had gotten those other 2 states to apply, we would have balanced the budget. My answer is, when? Which years? Which years did we not have this escape clause apply? Well, none of them. There's not been one moment since we almost had that convention that it would have done anything for us. So on the one hand, if we were to have this amendment, at best I would say it would be impotent. It would do nothing for us. But worse yet, I feel like it could also do some harm. Here's why. What they are proposing to do is require Congress to balance the budget, right? If we look at what our current budgetary levels are, annual budget this year is supposed to be coming in right around $4 trillion. And the revenue, a little over $3 trillion. We're coming up short about $800 billion. And so, if Congress is operating with a balanced budget requirement, what would they do? Lower spending or increase taxes? Well, they could do either. I think they'll probably increase taxes. But let's just say they lower the spending to meet revenue. That would trim the federal spending by about 10 to 15%. Great. Does that help us? There's a third option here, besides just raising taxes to meet budgetary measures here, and that is the constitutional approach. The constitutional approach says Congress can only spend money on those things which are authorized by the Constitution. Notice that one's a little bit lower than the other two. In fact, by current estimates, it's about 20% of current spending levels. If Congress were to follow the enumerated powers of Congress and only spend money on what they're authorized by the Constitution, it would trim over 80% from the federal budget. We would have a budget surplus of more than $2 trillion annually, and we'd be able to pay off the national debt in just a few years. That's the constitutional balanced budget requirement that already exists. Now, if we replace that requirement with a new balanced budget requirement that simply says Congress can spend any amount of money up to spending all the revenue, we've now replaced the enumeration of powers. Congress can do anything they want as long as they don't spend too much money. You've now replaced this enumeration of powers and made spending all the way up to total federal revenue constitutional. But worse yet, if they raise taxes to meet current levels, you could now say that our current out-of-control federal government has become constitutional because they're not spending more than they're allowed to. We've replaced the enumeration of powers with a budgetary requirement. So not only do I feel that the balanced budget amendment requirement could be neutral, do nothing for us, it could also do tremendous harm.